Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Checks and Balances TV. I'm your host, Matthew J. Rettick, and I'm committed to giving you the truth you need to financially succeed. In celebration of St. Patrick's Day, today's program is on the luck of the informed, how to find your own pot of gold. But first, let's see how today's news may impact your financial future. A shutdown of our federal government was averted by Congress earlier this month when they passed a 2-week extension before voting on the 2011 fiscal year budget yet again. This continuing resolution was passed just 2 days before the funding of government services was scheduled to come to a halt. Congress passed the extension, along with $4 billion in cuts to current federal spending, to buy themselves some extra time to develop a long-term solution and hopefully decide on a budget to fund the government throughout the rest of the fiscal year. The new deadline to reach an agreement is this Friday, March the 18th. MetLife Mature Market Institute, in conjunction with the Scripps Gerontology Center at Miami University, conducted a national study to identify the daunting dozen challenges associated with obtaining security in retirement. They also compiled a list of the best-case strategies for planning and preparing for retirement success. The study concluded that planning for the unexpected is the key to financial security in retirement, and that preemptive planners, or those who are prepared for the unanticipated events in life, are the ones who are the most successful in retirement. Okay, so what's really going on here? Let's check the facts using our checks and balances process. Lawmakers have still not agreed on the 2011 fiscal year budget, although we're more than 6 months into the fiscal year. And to compound this dilemma, the President has already sent lawmakers his 2012 fiscal year budget. This continuing resolution, as it's called, or a continuation of the 2010 budget, represents Congress's inability to come to a majority agreement on a fiscal plan for our country. And this is the first time in modern U.S. history that a fiscal year has begun with no federal spending authority in place. And until Congress comes to a resolution on the nation's short and long-term financial challenges and agrees on a budget, the federal government is still at risk of temporarily shutting down. The stopgap bill signed by President Obama provided just an additional 2 weeks of government funding in hopes that lawmakers will finally decide on a financial plan to carry the country through September 2011, which is the end of the government's fiscal year. If no agreement is made, however, the federal government could either A, shut down and leave non-essential employees and contractors temporarily out of work, B, pass yet another short-term extension while continuing to debate the longer-term deal, or C, pass the long-term resolution to take the federal government through the end of the fiscal year. Unfortunately for the American public, however, Democratic and Republican leaders are at odds on how to close the gap between federal revenue and federal spending, which is projected to result in another deficit this year of $1.6 trillion to the already record debt level of $14.2 trillion. If no agreement is made as of Saturday, March 19th, the government would be out of money and forced to cease non-essential operations. The federal government has not shut down in more than 15 years. In 1996, and for 21 days, the government ceased all but essential operations, which included air traffic control, border control, and delivering the mail, to name a few examples. Non-essential services such as national park services, museums, and monuments remained closed during the 3-week hiatus. In addition, federal employees are not paid during a government shutdown as well. Currently, members of Congress and the President are treated differently from other federal employees and would continue to receive their paycheck even if there was a government shutdown. Some congressmen recently created and signed a bill stating that members of Congress and the President will not receive their paycheck for any period in which there is more than a 24-hour lapse in the federal government's ability to meet its financial obligations, which certainly makes sense to me. The MetLife study looked at what the most effective strategies were for planning and obtaining a successful retirement. The study concluded that the most successful approach to retirement comes from those who actively plan for unexpected surprises that inevitably come one's way. The study identified 10 different types of retirement planners and the personality characteristics of each. Some of the most common personalities include snoozers, who don't think about future risks at all; immobilized worriers, those who understand future risks but whose worry prevents them from acting; and preemptive planners, who strive to preempt future risks or at least their consequences. A preemptive planner, according to the study, exhibits the best case strategies and is a retirement planner who has a sense of self-reliance, thinks about the future, anticipates the unexpected, sets and lives by personal financial rules, gathers information and takes action. Preemptive planners plan to have multiple sources of retirement income and assets, such as a defined benefit plan or 401k plan, other investments, savings, and annuities, as well as Social Security and a good health insurance plan or supplement plan in retirement. The unexpected circumstances were identified as the daunting dozen challenges. Unexpected surprises include declining income or job loss, loss or erosion of a pension, catastrophic illness or disability, loss of health insurance or rising health insurance costs, death of a spouse, caregiving demands, financial problems with children or family members, declining investment funds, loss of Social Security benefits, living too long or outliving savings, a combination of these events, and even a financial windfall, a welcome but unexpected scenario nonetheless. Unfortunately, fear of the unexpected events in life produces inaction rather than action in many of the personality types. Okay, so you may be asking yourself, Matt, what does all of this mean to me? Well, now that we've checked the facts, let's balance this news using our checks and balances process to determine what action you should take today. The federal government operates on a fiscal year from October 1st through September 30th. Congress is required to pass a new spending bill each year to ensure the operation and funding of the federal government and its many programs. If a bill does not pass, non-essential government functions will cease, as they would have no longer any authority to spend any more money. To prevent an interruption in services, a continuing resolution may be passed, authorizing the government to fund their agencies at current levels until a resolution expires or a permanent bill or budget is agreed upon and passed. So far, we have been continuing the continuing resolutions. This is the fifth short-term funding bill that has passed this fiscal year. Federal employees have already been hit with a 2-year federal pay freeze, and the inability of the government to work together to approve a budget could potentially impact their livelihood even further. The $14.29 trillion debt ceiling, which we will most likely hit before the end of next month, can also shut down the government. So we may be seeing the same threat again in the very near future. Attaining the best case scenario in retirement is not a one-size-fits-all strategy. Each person has different circumstances, needs, and goals. However, the MetLife study found that there were 4 core issues that can challenge even the best of planners, and they include health care coverage, long-term care costs, reduced benefits from defined benefit plans or defined contribution plans, and the volatility of the stock market. To become a preemptive planner, it's critically important to create a plan and implement strategies to lessen the impact of any of these 4 common challenges. The study identified the characteristics of the best planners for retirement, calling them the best case strategists, which is one who has a sense of self-reliance, thinks and plans for the future, anticipates the unexpected, creates a budget for today and into the future, sets and lives by personal financial rules, engages in the what-ifs, puts pen to paper and does the financial math, gathers information, seeks advice, gets their house in order, literally, and starts as soon as possible. The list may be long, but the study encourages pre-retirees to stay committed and to believe that there is still time to gain financial security. It may require a lot of hard work and a little bit of luck. And of course, luck is defined as labor under correct knowledge. Okay, so what's the bottom line here? Living with debt, unfortunately, has become a way of life for our federal government. Rather than making the tough decisions now so we will have a brighter future for our children and grandchildren, they are still trying to find ways to pay for yesterday's long-forgotten expenses. Their reckless spending in years past has left them with limited options today and some very detrimental possibilities for the people who depend on the government to fund their livelihood. Their lack of vision and action may have a lasting impact on generations to come. They could learn a few things from the preemptive planners, those who will have their own pot of gold at the end of their working years and well into their retirement. They are living within their means, following a financial budget, planning for the unexpected, and focused on the future. Had the government lived by these same principles, they would have been able to afford their past expenses and then properly plan on having the money to fund existing programs today and into the future. Instead, they spent too much money, saved too little, didn't believe in responsible budgets and accountability, and let our national debt balloon, which now threatens the livelihood of millions of Americans. In this week's CBTV poll, we asked Americans an important question. What insurance policies do you have in place or plan to have in place to protect your assets in retirement? The options were A, life insurance, B, long-term care insurance, C was disability insurance, D was umbrella policy, and E was none of the above. Well, 39% of you said that you have a life insurance policy in place to protect your assets in retirement. That's a great start and will definitely help your family. However, a life insurance policy will not generally protect your assets while you're living and won't cover the high costs of long-term care or replace an income due to disability. To protect all of your assets in retirement, it's important to have a variety of insurance policies, including these 4 and possibly more. Stay tuned for my tip, tool, or technique portion of the show, where I'll be covering the 4 most important insurance policies to have in a good retirement plan. In our On the Street segment, we travel the country to ask Americans what they think about an important financial topic or issue. For this week's segment, we asked people if they were worried about outliving their assets in retirement. Let's take a look at what America had to say. More people entering the 80s, 90s, and century mark than ever before in history. Okay. Is that a concern for you folks as well?
I think you just enjoy your life and enjoy whatever you can do. I think that one of the things where you get smarter, and everybody is doing it, is that you figure out a lot of things that you were doing that were just a total waste you don't have to do anymore. You know, we have 1 car, we don't have 2, and during the week we probably take the car out except to play golf for nothing at all, because public transportation is cheaper, more efficient, easier to deal with. And even when you go out to eat, you kind of like use some common sense. I mean, most of the time they give you so much in one entree that the 2 of you can share it and even take something home.
That's true. That's true. Now, are you concerned as well as some Americans about living longer than their assets are available for them?
I'm very concerned about it, probably more than he is, because he's working and I'm not. So yes. I have to be very careful. But what I found in my pattern of spending money is that some things aren't as spending money on things isn't as appealing to me anymore, and I can live with that, and I can live very happily with that, not having everything that I want anymore. Right. I had everything I wanted, but that is a big fear.
Well, as you can see, the real concern of outliving your assets in retirement cannot be understated today, especially with increased life expectancies. Now more than ever, having the right type of insurance policies can protect your income and assets throughout your retirement. I'll discuss the 4 most important insurance policies you should have in my tip, tool, and technique segment coming up next. This segment of CBTV is brought to you by American Equity Investment Life Insurance Company. And now for Matt's weekly tip, tool, or technique. Today's tip is on protecting yourself from the unexpected events in life with appropriate insurance. In order to be an ideal preemptive planner, you need to have the luck of the informed. So here are 4 strategies and policies that you should consider purchasing now and maintaining throughout your retirement. Strategy number 1, an umbrella liability policy. An umbrella policy is a type of liability insurance policy that protects your assets and future income above and beyond the standard limits on your homeowners and auto policies. It's really designed to protect you from frivolous lawsuits from anyone who makes a claim against you for things like causing a fake injury in an auto accident or falling in or around your home. Since these claims can, in most cases, be considerably higher than your standard coverage you have on your home and automobile, it's in your best interest to add this extra layer of protection to your nest egg. Strategy number 2 is natural disaster insurance. Floods, earthquakes, fires, hurricanes, and tornadoes are some of the natural or man-made disasters that many people don't think of getting insurance for until it's too late. Natural disasters that impact your home can cost an exorbitant amount of money in your working years. But imagine how hard it would be if you were uninsured during retirement. Take a preemptive strike against these disasters and make sure your home and possessions and other assets are all insured. Strategy number 3, long-term care insurance. Unfortunately, many people believe that federal programs such as Medicare will cover all their medical expenses as they age. However, one of the most expensive parts of medical care in retirement is one that is not covered by Medicare and most health insurance policies: long-term care. The cost of long-term care is skyrocketing, and by purchasing a good long-term care policy now, your nest egg will be preserved against those high costs in the future. Strategy number 4 is good old life insurance. A life insurance policy is one of the greatest gifts that you can give your loved ones. Nobody wants to worry about pinching pennies to cover funeral expenses or to pay outstanding debts during the mourning and grieving process. Life insurance can give your loved ones the peace of mind and financial security you are building for them during your lifetime. Why not make sure it continues, even if you can't be there in person? Now is the time to realize that neither your employer nor the government are responsible for your retirement. And even more so if your employer is the government. You are. It is your responsibility to create your own luck, which again stands for labor under correct knowledge, by saving more, spending less, paying down debt, insuring your assets, and protecting your nest egg throughout your retirement. And before you know it, you'll have a pot of gold waiting for you at the end of your working years and all the way through your golden years. Mark your calendars now for the next installment of our popular series, The Lighter Side of Finance. This upcoming episode will air later this month and is entitled Ponzi Schemerwitz. You will learn how to protect yourself and your nest egg from those too good to be true scammers and con artists. And be sure to friend our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel to gain exclusive access to our library of viral videos and the Truth About series. For more information on how to become a checks and balances savvy consumer and to download any of our free reports, visit the download section of our website. Also, be sure to get your copy of The Truth About Mutual Funds, a free report that teaches you the pros and cons, both sides of the coin, the advantages and disadvantages of this useful but many times misunderstood financial product. And while you're on the site, remember, your voice counts. Be sure to take this week's poll and visit our Tell Us What You Think section to share your opinion. Make your voice heard. And finally, remember that only you can control your financial future. You can succeed. You just need confidence and determination. I'm Matthew J. Rettick from Checks and Balances TV. Be sure to join us next week when we'll discuss In Like a Lion, Out Like a Lamb. Don't get the wool pulled over your eyes by a bad financial advisor. Until then, spend less, save more, believe in yourself, and make it happen.